or not. But, yeah, it's like two major cities, but the city to the south, I mean, it's the capital of the entire country. It's a little hard to, for any city
to compete with that,
especially when you're not like New York or Los Angeles. You're more of a Baltimore's more of a. It's a big city, but it's a
blue collar city.
Well, it's a blue collar city, but as far as like size, it doesn't compete with New York, L.A., Chicago. But it's, and I don't even maybe Detroit. I don't know. But it's still it's a big city, but it's on the lower end of size wise. Washington, D.C. is not big either, but it's just got all the power is there. I mean, it's nobody can really necessarily compete against that. So there's always just been this thing where we have this city, 35 miles down the road that's snooty and thinks they're better than everybody else, and Baltimore is a blue collar city. Doesn't. Of course, there's the upper class there, and all that, like anywhere, but most people are very down to earth. And let's face it, there's a lot of people in D.C. who are very nose up in the air. Now, that's actually not the typical D.C. person resident, but you think of all the government people that work. That pour into there. A lot of those people don't even stay there. They just drive there, which I have to drive through every day, competing with those people to get to work. But they work there, they drive there, and then they leave. Whereas people in Baltimore, usually they work there, they live there.
Yeah.
But it's just been, I don't know, it's just been always a thing.
Kind of like the little sibling of
the
DC.
younger sibling or something like that. And it's, at certain times, it's evened out a little bit, especially, like, again, with sports at times. The Ravens have had big success, and even the Colts. Before that, the Colts used to regularly beat up on the Redskins, like, regularly. And the Ravens have had a lot more success than the Redskins in the last 20 years. But still, that's sports.
Yeah.
The city thing. I mean, look, D.C. has great food, great places, great neighborhoods. So does Baltimore. They're different. They're not the same, but I don't really think that much of it.
Me either.
Really. I don't think it's like a big... Like,
either.
they try to make the Orioles national
the Beltway
rivalries,
series.
The Beltway series, but they're not even in the same league. I mean, and they're not really... The only time they'd be competing, really, where it'd be serious, would be the World Series.
Yeah. So, to you, it's not really a thing. It's a non-factor.
I've never felt it that much.
Yeah. Okay. Alright, we're going to talk about one more thing. Let's talk about the ethnic neighborhoods in Baltimore, because Baltimore has always been, like, big on that and known for their ethnic neighborhoods, like New York City
your mother has, it's called the Baltimore Neighborhood Cookbook.
I know she does.
Which I got for her, I believe, from Costco when I worked there.
Yeah.
And she still has that, and there's, like, good stuff in there. For like, I know she made some of it.
She still does.
Yeah. But, it's just because... in the early part of the 1900s, there was on the East Coast especially, there was a wave of immigration, and when and mostly European.
Yeah.
And they all moved, came over on the ships, and, obviously a lot of people came in through New York, but...
Ellis Island,
but even if they came through Ellis Island, they didn't always stay in New York. So a lot of these ethnic groups moved into the big old East Coast cities, and Baltimore was one of them. And that what they would tend to do was they would sort of stake out a section of town, and that would be kind of become their part of the town. So you would have these strong neighborhoods where there was the Polish neighborhood, the Irish neighborhood, the Italian neighborhood, and as you still know today, like in Baltimore, all these places have shrunk, unfortunately. I think, in my opinion, unfortunately. But in Baltimore, you had the Polish neighborhood, which my family was, had connections to. I'm an adopted child, but I still completely, I was adopted as an infant, so I completely identify with my family as that's my family. And so my great-grandmother could not speak English, she could only speak Polish. And so you had your ethnic neighborhoods, and you had the Italian neighborhood next to the Polish, and Little Italy still remains. Now, if you grew up in Baltimore, you thought Little Italy was downtown, a little bit, east of the Inner Harbor area. But there's Little Italies in other cities, too, which I didn't know for the longest time. But, yeah, we have a Little Italy. And like I said, there was just all of those sort of separate ethnic neighborhoods. And it's all, I even talk about these things with my second graders, about how when you come from a different place, you don't just leave it all behind. You have to leave some stuff behind, I guess, like maybe some things, but you bring your ideas and your beliefs and your culture and your tradition and all that stuff with you. And that's what they did. So you had all of this. Like, here we go, the Polish neighborhood, you had the kielbasa and all the other stuff that goes with it. I'm just gonna say kielbasa right now. There's a lot of other stuff, and then you have the Italian over here, and you have the lasagna and the meatballs, the homemade and the pasta, the homemade
Sicilian food.
The Sicilian food, and then you have the Irish part, and you had all these different, and it was mostly European, at first, and anyway, so yeah, the ethnic neighborhoods, unfortunately, they're having trouble surviving. It's just I think it's just a bunch of things, like the older people dying off, the younger people not necessarily wanting to stay down there and take over the business. They move to the suburbs, and then they either want to do the business out in the suburbs, or they're just not interested in really keeping the city thing going. It's a bunch of things like that, and so the neighborhoods have gotten sort of smaller and condensed, and I hope they don't disappear, because I think that would be sad.
Yeah, it's a really cool part.
Yes, of most,
Baltimore,
again,
or any city.
A lot of cities, but that's the city I know the best, so
yeah.
It's very, very strong there, but I hope it can survive. I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit. I feel like I'm teaching.
Yeah, we'll end it in a couple minutes, but the only thing left I have to ask you is, like, what makes Baltimore, like, unique to you, even though you've been, like, gone for that long? Like, why does it continue to be, like, the love of your life, like, city-wise?
Because to this day, I still will defend it against anybody that wants to talk smack about it. I will defend it. I'm like it, to me, it's a great city. It has tons of flaws and warts, but there's there's so much unique about it, and you can't really know that until you explore a city, any city. But it's got a lot of unique parts about it. It's got a very artsy areas and influences, which I was involved with somewhat in my late teens, early 20s. Did a little bit of acting and was a little bit involved with theater and stuff. So there's a lot of artists, and there's a big art community. It's like Baltimore is like a big city with a smaller town mentality to it. And that's the best thing I can say.
All right.
Over and out. Adios.
Over and out.
Peace.